Going to be beginning the final Shabbat of the year, the last Sabbath of the year, and next week we'll be celebrating Rosh Hashanah, the very first day of the Jewish New Year. And even though perhaps it seems a little bit, what's the right word I'm looking for? It seems a little bit phony. It's kind of like cramming for a test at the end. It's still possible on this last Shabbat to grab the last hours of the year and to really have a turnaround. There's never a time where a person should ever give up on anything. Even though perhaps you didn't have the best year, you can fix everything in a very short period of time. And the Shabbat, the Sabbath, is very, very auspicious time to do this. And the word Shabbat in Hebrew is made up of three letters, Shin, Bet, Taf. And it can be read as Shabbat, or you can read it as Shavta, you shall return. It's the same exact letters. So on the Shabbat, we have the ability to come back and come close to Hashem, come close to God, and to renew our relationship with Him. And it's a very, very amazing opportunity that we shouldn't lose. I want to draw your attention to a pasuk, a verse from the book of Deuteronomy. It's chapter 11 from the book of Devarim, chapter 11, verse 12. And it says, Eretz asher Adonai Elohecha doresh ota tamid einei Adonai Elohecha ba mereshit hashana v'acharid shana. Which it's talking about the land of Israel, and the verse means it's a land that Hashem your God seeks out. The eyes of Hashem your God are always upon it from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. So this land where I'm living in right now, the land of Israel, is the land that God is looking at from the beginning of the year to the end of the year. That means very simply that there's a special connection between the Holy Land, between Israel and God and Hashem. And He's always paying special attention to this land. It's not that God doesn't pay attention to every other land in the world, of course He does, but there's special attention given to the land of Israel. But there's an interesting thing that the rabbis notice in the verse. It says, and you can only understand it in the Hebrew, so listen carefully. It says that God has His eyes on this land, Mereshit Hashana, from the beginning of the year, Ad Acharit Shana, until the end of year. It does not say until the end of the year. It says Mereshit Hashana, the beginning of the year. Ha in Hebrew means the. Hashana is the year. Ad Acharit Shana. You hear the difference? It just says Shana, not Hashana, until the end of year, not the year. So what does this mean? So there's an interesting interpretation given, which I think can add a lot of meaning and relevance to our lives, and we can really think about this. Because at the beginning of the year, what happens? People have a tendency to say, this is the year. This is going to be the year that I'm going to lose weight. This is going to be the year that I come closer to my religion, to Torah. This is the year that I'm going to be a friendlier, nicer person. This is the year I'm going to be more organized. Or if you're a student, this is the year I'm going to study and take notes and not have to rely upon everyone else's notes. This is going to be the year where I'm prepared, where I do my homework and I don't have to borrow pens and pencils. I'm going to be organized. But what happens at the end of the year? Unfortunately, it turns out that it's just year. It's not the year, it's a year. It's like any old year. And even though we made commitments at the beginning, unfortunately, we weren't able to keep to those commitments. And here there's a very important message. I think one can argue that one of the most important things in life is consistency. It's committing yourself to something and continually doing it every single day and every week and every month. And really committing yourself to something means that it's not a commitment for a day or a week or a month, but it's really a day in and day out commitment for the rest of your lives. Of course, unless it's a short-term commitment, but whatever the commitment is, one needs to stick to their guns. And that's what it means. If you want to have the year, it has to be a year where you stick to your promises. You know, about 9 weeks ago or so, I committed myself to making this video, inspirational video, once a week. And I've been doing it every single week. I only missed one when we went away on vacation, but I've committed myself to it, and I've stuck to my commitment. And I hope that I'm able to continue to do this. Not so much, of course, it's wonderful for you, the person who watches this video, and I hope you find meaning in it. But for me, to really stick to a commitment that I made, that really helps me in shaping who I am. So That's critical, and I'll end with this thought, or this idea, where the sages ask, what is the most important verse in the Bible? And they make all kinds of suggestions. Maybe it's Shema Yisrael, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. Maybe it's the first verse, in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth. Statements of faith, or the idea of God as the creator. I mean, these are critical, important verses. Or love your neighbor like yourself. How, can you get higher than that? But they give a strange answer. They say the most important verse in the Bible is in Hebrew, Et hakeves echad taseh baboker ve'et hakeves hasheni taseh bein harbayim, which means you shall bring the daily sacrifice in the morning and in the afternoon as well. What is this all about? The verse is about the daily offerings that were brought in the temple every single day, once in the morning and once in the afternoon. And they were brought 365 days a year, like clockwork. And that's why the rabbis say that this is the most important verse in the Bible, because it's not so important. Now, yes, it's important, but it's not so important. Person once a year, once in a while, has a great statement of faith. The Lord is one. Or they believe that God created the world, or they love your neighbor. What's more important? What you do every single day, and day in and day out, when you wake up in the morning, and then what do you do? How do you fill your hours? Are you consistent? Do you commit yourself and follow through on your commitments? So this is very, very critical, that we don't want to start this year and fall into the same old patterns, or we commit ourselves and then we don't stick to our commitments. So please, this year, let's demand of ourselves that at the beginning of the year, when we say it's Hashanah, Reshid Hashanah, the beginning of the year, at the end of the year, we can also say that this was the year. Not any old year, but the year. This is the year where I really committed myself and I stuck to those commitments. Shabbat Shalom to all.